Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to the 5th episode of Season 2 of the Little Running Irishman podcast. In this episode, we are joined once again with another guest, Jon Rankin. Jon is the founder of the business Go Be More Running Apparel, and yeah, this is probably my favourite episode yet on the channel and of the podcast, just because me and Jon have a really great conversation about running and the business Go Be More, and how Jon is helping me grow my podcast and how I'm helping Jon grow Go Be More as much as possible and bring it over to Ireland as much as possible. And yeah, it is just a great conversation. I'll leave all Jon's socials down in the description and in the show notes, and Go Be More's website as well if you want to check out the apparel that they provide. Is top quality running apparel and for really good prices. And you're also helping an up-and-coming business, and you'll also be helping me out as well, and to try grow the business a little bit. So yeah, if possible, go check out their website, because they've got some great gear over there. But yeah, as I said, this was a great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely did enjoy it. And as I said, all the links are down in the description and the show notes for Jon's socials, my socials, and Go Be More's website. So make sure to check it out, and I hope you all enjoy. Okay, so I'm joined here with Jon Rankin, ex-professional athlete and Nike athlete, and also currently a bit of an entrepreneur, you could say. So thanks very much, Jon, for coming on the podcast.
Killian, it's wonderful to be with you. I'm so glad that we connected on Instagram. You're such an amazing young man. Your energy, there's something special about you. I'm so excited just to have a fun conversation and get to know you more.
No, thanks very much. I am too. It should definitely be a good one. Yeah, just to jump straight into it, with a lot of my guests that I have on the podcast, usually, as you know, it's a lot running aimed. So you definitely have a big running background to you. So if you just want to give us a little quick breakdown of your running background, I know that can be a little bit tough because of such a high level that you were at, but if you're just able to break down maybe your running career or background, when you started, why you started, that would be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So I started running when I was 14. I was a basketball player before I started running, and I was like trying to become, with my brother, the next Michael Jordan. That was our dream.
Yeah.
So that was the MJ that was kind of like inspiring the first part of my life, that first part of my sports journey. And then 1996 comes along, and the Atlanta Olympics here in the United States were going on that summer in 1996. And I remember watching another MJ, Michael Johnson.
Oh yeah.
You know, and he was wearing the golden spikes. I don't remember if you saw that.
I have seen that.
Yeah, so, I mean, come on. You're sitting there, you're 14, you're watching this guy look like Superman, his chest out, puffed out, and he's just flying around the track, and he's dominating everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I was, like, so inspired, and I just remember sitting in the living room of my parents' home and just going, wow, I want to do that. I want to be like Michael, this other MJ. And so within about a year, I quit basketball and was really just focused on track. And, I tried to be a sprinter in the beginning, but found very quickly that was not where my talent lied. It was more in the mile, more in the middle distance stuff. And honestly, after my very first run, I was like, wow, I love how I felt. I love how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And I loved the sport. I loved just doing it. And on top of the fact that I had this dream, like the moment I started running, I was running because I wanted to become an Olympian.
Definitely.
I knew it from the very beginning. And I believed with my whole heart that I could do it.
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was crazy, but when you have this big, crazy, wild dreams, that's kind of how it goes.
100%.
But yeah, man. So I had a pretty decent high school career. I mean, without going into too many details, it's a little bit up and down here and there, but I ended it pretty well, good enough to get UCLA to say, hey, you want to walk on?
Well, yeah, definitely.
I ran a 409 mile. Ended up running a 409 mile in high school. And like, it's funny, my 800 time and my 2 mile time do not coincide with or reflect how good I should have been in those events in high school. But I ran I don't even remember what my 2 mile time was. But I ran like a 157 or 158 in the 800 because I barely did it. I just did the mile a lot. I would do doubles, triples in our dual meets, but I wasn't trying to run super fast in those events. It was always about the mile. And are the 1600 meters, at that time. And so I blew up my senior year, ran 409, was one of the fastest times in the country. UCLA gave me an opportunity to walk on. And then my freshman year, I won the junior national championship for the United States and made the junior USA team. And I think I ran like 346, I think, was a personal best. My personal best in the 1500 as a freshman. So it was like a 403, something like that, 404, something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And then the next 3 years were tough in college. Had 7 stress reactions or stress fractures, about 7 of them total. So 3 years of injury was brutal.
Yeah, that's not great.
I was on the pool and in the bike, cross training 2-3 hours per session every day. So I was training like probably 5-6 hours a day.
Yeah.
On the bike, stationary bike, on the elliptical, and or aqua jogging, mainly aqua jogging. But that was most of my college career was like cross training. I was injured all the time. And so by the time I got to my 4th year, I wanted to quit the sport. And I did. And I took a couple weeks off. My coach was like, yo, take some time, see if you really want to do this or not. I came back after about a week. And I said, a week off. And I was like, just running, but I wasn't really training with the team. And I said, nah, I'm done. I'm done. It's my 4th year in college. And I was like, I'm happier just running. I forgot why I was doing it. And all these injuries and the struggles and the mental stress was not worth it anymore. And I felt like I was being an awful teammate, to be honest with you. I was like, my teammates see like the worst of me right now because I'm so focused on this dream and the fact that it wasn't working out. So I tried to quit. But I explained to him what my logic was, and he's like, dude, you're in a good place. You're in a better place than you think you are. Come back to the team. And he said, don't quit. I can't let you quit. And I said, well, if I come back, I just want to focus on the fundamentals. I just want to be the best that I could be a good teammate, focus on the work, and not worry about championships, records, nothing.
Just to stay fit.
Just do the work. And enjoy running for the sake of running, you know, and training for the sake of training. And it was funny, within a few weeks of coming back, it was my 4th year in college, so I had 1 more year of eligibility left. So my 5th year is really where things turned around. But I did pretty well. I made the national championships, the NCAA national championships as a 4th year. So I turned around and did pretty well. Ran 4-minute mile on the anchor leg of our DMR at one point, and a major invitational Texas relays. I did really cool things, and ran some PRs and turned things around a little bit. Then I ended up having my first real summer of training, believe it or not, going into my last year in college. Had a stellar cross-country season, was 39th at the NCAA championships in Division I for UCLA, and was an All-American. We finished 2nd in the DMR Indoor Nationals, so that was cool, and I anchored that team. And then outdoor season comes, and it was like Jon Rankin arrived. I ran my first sub 4-minute mile in April, I think it was April 5th, 2005 at the Rayford Johnson Jackie Joyner Kersey Invitational at UCLA. It had been 25 years since somebody had broken 4 minutes. And I ran 3:57, was one of the fastest times in the world. It was the number 1 time in the world at that point in the season. So I went from being nobody to number 1 in the world, and broke 4 for the first time. And then I went on to have one of the best middle distance seasons of all time, running 17 personal bests in 1 season. And you know, signing a contract with Nike. And then I ran professionally for about 5-6 years with Nike, and made an Olympic team as an alternate in 2008 in the 1500 meters for the United States.
That is really cool, and it's a really interesting story, and we will take bits out of it and talk about them a little bit. But just going back really to the start, from the transition from basketball to running, was it a big transition? Did you love the sport straight away? Or, because the reason I'm going back to this is because a lot of my teammates and a lot of the listeners to the podcast would be around that age, around my age, 14, 15, 16, that maybe have just started running or want to get into running. So what was that transition like for you at the start? Obviously, from coming back from such a severe injury, you must have obviously the work right, but I'd say a lot of natural talent. And did you see that straight away, or did you have to really work for that natural talent to really be shown?
I think it I think it showed up quite quickly, honestly. I think I was doing things that as a freshman, in track and field, and as sophomore, I didn't run cross country for the first time till my sophomore year, and I made state.
Yeah.
And I did really well at state. I don't remember what my placement was, but I was competitive at state, even in my very first season in cross country, having no experience.
Yeah.
So I mean, talent definitely was there. It was like, and it showed up pretty quickly. I wasn't a high mileage guy, never really was. I think it was averaging like 25 miles a week in high school. So I mean, it was definitely talent for sure. But the big thing was the mental side of it. Transitioning from basketball was not super hard for me in terms of getting into the sport. I've done a really good job of teaching us, my brother and I, about the like the fundamentals of just doing a good job as an athlete, right?
Yeah.
Just being a good athlete. And obviously the sport we were doing that in was basketball, but the lessons and the fundamentals, the work ethic, all that stuff was there already. The foundation was laid thanks to my dad and what he did with my brother and I. I mean, my dad was so passionate about basketball, and he really believed that we could make it, at least at the D1 level in basketball, and have a chance, to make the NBA. He believed we could do it, and he's like, if we put in the work, we have a shot, and so that all translated very nicely into the work ethic that I poured into my sport, or into the sport of track and field.
Yeah.
And the only tough part about it was letting the sport go, because I felt like I was disappointing my dad.
Yeah.
Because so that was the hardest part. Was I didn't want to break my dad's heart, because he loved the sport. He loved seeing his sons play the sport of basketball, and we poured our hearts into it for like 10 years, and then for me to just drop it, it was kind of heartbreaking. And I felt so bad, because I didn't want to, you don't want to disappoint your dad.
No,
you don't want to disappoint your mom. But he understood, he supported it as well as he could in the beginning, and over time he saw how happy I was, and he's just like, well, of course, whatever makes him happy is what matters the most. But it was tough, because I didn't want to break my dad's heart. So that was the hardest part of switching from basketball to track for me, in my experience.
No, I can definitely relate to that quite a lot, because over in Ireland here we've a sport called Gaelic football and hurling. It's basically a mixture of basketball, rugby, and soccer put into one. And I've been playing that since I was maybe 6, 7. And my brother also was playing it as well, and it was very similar to you. Obviously, we got to very different levels, but no, we put a lot into the sport, training every day with the club, going out with our friends playing it, and my dad is also very big into it. So very similar to you, was quite. I felt like, not that I was letting my dad down, because the same with you. Once my dad knew I was happy in the sport I was doing, he was okay with it. But just from a personal point of view, I was kind of like, is he just saying that? And obviously it helped having my brother. I don't really like saying this, but he was better than me at it. So still having him in the sport
right.
definitely was a bit refreshing. So my dad had someone in the family in the sport. And running isn't as big over in Ireland as it is in America, or athletics even. So it's not like, oh, I'm going off to do, like, just say football or soccer. It's running, and that probably wasn't expected, maybe. So it was maybe a little bit of a shock to my dad. But very similar to you, played the sport for quite a long time. Gave it up because I found running, I found I had a passion for it, and I was good at it. And as well, I maybe thought I was disappointing my dad, which I don't think I was, and I don't think I am to this day. So I can definitely relate to that story quite a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of sons can, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make our dads proud. We want to, it's in many ways, I guess, prove ourselves as a man, as we become men.
No, definitely,
That because we look up to our dads, and we're like, okay, I want my dad to be proud of me. And it's funny how much that means to us as young men, and as you become men. And so I think that's where, at the heart of it, I think that's where we get that from, and it's great. It's love. I love talking about that with you, where you're at in your life. I think that it's great to hear that you realize, or you have that perspective on it, and that ultimately the most important thing for you is that you just want to, you want to make your dad proud, you
Definitely, yeah.
know, and whatever you're doing, if I believe if you're doing good in the world and you're always giving your best, I think that ultimately your father will always see the your greatness and your efforts to be great,
Yeah,
and I think that's exciting, and I think that's all you
definitely.
need to do. I
100%.
think as long as you're doing that, I know that your dad is proud of you.
No, definitely, and that's where it's good to have that kind of support in any sport or any activity that you're doing. But kind of moving up the ages a little bit, you spoke
Mhm.
right there breaking the 4 minute mile, and when me and you start talking, I started doing a little bit of research into your professional career, and I actually found out, I'm not too sure if you know this, but you were the 238 athlete to break the 4 minute mile. So that's just a little fact there for everyone watching or listening. I thought that was pretty cool. Even just holding that to your name, I think that's a pretty cool achievement to have. And just to talk a little bit more on your professional side of your career, what was it like initially signing that contract with Nike? Because I know, and a lot of people my age that are in any sport, the main thing is getting the gear off a deal,
Yeah.
off a big brand, and getting paid to do what you love. So what was that like when you signed that contract?
It was great. Nike was really, in so many ways, was really good to me. And honestly, in the most important way, they helped me make, I think, one of the biggest dreams that most boys, and now I think a lot of
Definitely,
girls have, and it come true, and it's that dream of becoming a professional athlete. And I
yeah.
got to be a pro. I turned pro. I mean, I
Was
made
it a
it to
bit
the top
surreal?
of a sport. It's surreal. It's
Yeah.
like, what? I mean, this is crazy, and it's Nike.
It's one of probably
And
the
so,
biggest brand.
oh no, it is without question, right?
Yeah.
It is, and I mean they've shaped so many generations, with their brand. And no, I mean they've inspired so many dreams in so many people throughout the world. It was a dream come true for sure. It was amazing to be a Nike athlete, and when I signed, I mean there's a lot of, because you're young and you don't have a lot of perspective, you put unnecessary pressure on
Yeah.
yourself. Like, if I were to go back and do it all over again, and every older person says this, it's like, man, I would have been like so cool about it. I would have been like, wow, I would have seen how great of an opportunity it was. I
Yeah.
think I would have turned it into an even bigger opportunity had I realized how lucky I was that Nike gave me that shot.
Yeah.
And my advice to anybody is that when you have a dream and things start to come true, you begin to realize that there's so much more to the dream than it just coming true. It
Yeah.
was like everything between the moment you had it and the moment it came true. That stuff counts. That stuff matters. And honestly, it matters more than the dream
Definitely.
coming true. So I felt like it was cool to have that opportunity, but the fight to get to that moment,
Yeah.
that's what was really special because of all the things that I learned about myself going through that fight, and now with the fight that I'm in at this point in my life for inspiring that in other people, fighting for that so
Yeah.
that all people anywhere in the world can see that within themselves, like that they can feel like they have a right, know that they have a right, they feel like there's value in their dreams, that they need to chase their dreams, that it's not about it coming true.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about for me now. And I wouldn't have the courage and I wouldn't have the understanding of what that really means had I not been willing to die for the dreams that I had,
Yeah.
and to go through it. And honestly, I fell short. I didn't compete in the Olympics. I made an Olympic team. I was an alternate though. I,
Yeah.
I was on the team, but I wasn't in Beijing. I beat a lot of guys, but I did it. They got medals, but I didn't. But they got the medal and I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. I wanted to break the world record, and I got close, but I didn't. So
Yeah.
there's these things where I could say, wow, the dream didn't come true, and it could be so easy. And for many years, I was
Yeah.
disappointed, and
Yeah.
I had an amazing career. But as I get older, I go, wow, look at all the friendships that I made.
Yeah.
Look at all the lives that I inspired and can continue to inspire. And I feel like I know myself better because of the struggles that I went through chasing that dream and all the experiences that I had in chasing that dream. I'm so grateful for the fact that I did it, and I'm okay, more than okay. And I think in many ways it's probably better that it didn't work out.
Yeah.
My dreams, the way that I had imagined, because it's taught me so much about how life really is. You know, things don't work out the way that you typically imagine they will, but they typically work out the way that you need them to.
Yeah. And it's quite like the iceberg effect, really. You're talking about there that when you get to where you are, people are like, oh look, he's another athlete that signed another Nike contract, but they don't see everything under the water, the dedication you put in, day out, and all the hard work and effort you put in to get there. And would you agree with that, when you signed the contract, that at a young age there's probably maybe a little bit of a immaturity thing, that you think, right, I signed the contract, and you put too much pressure on. Everyone's looking at me. Everyone needs me to perform just because I signed this contract. And you mentioned there, if you want to go back in time, you'd kind of tell yourself, no, it's not like that. Like, you're only one in thousands of people that have these contracts, and just to embrace it and just keep working hard and not put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it just right. It's, you don't need to put the pressure on yourself, because there's so much more to life than that contract.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not about, you really didn't do it. Even though if you think you're chasing the contract or the opportunity to be in the Olympics and all that stuff, you're doing it because that's like the nugget, that's like the carrot that you're chasing.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, deep down inside, you're doing it because you love it.
Exactly.
And that's really the work that's required, you know, to make it that far. It's so hard, and you know this.
Yeah.
Killian, you train every day. You know, you put in the work, and it's hard to get up some days. It's hard to, some days you show up at the track or hit the roads, and you're just like, gosh, like, my body is just not feeling it today.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
or my mind is somewhere else. And imagine doing that for years, overcoming that every single day. You're not doing it for the Yeah, and you're not doing it for the contract and all that stuff. That's a byproduct of the hard work that you put in, the dedication, your resilience, your persistence, your dedication and discipline. It's a result of all those things, but you're really doing it because you love it, and that's what's most important. And I think that it's easy to forget about that when you sign a contract and all of a sudden you're trying to live up to this contract when everything you did was good enough.
Yeah.
To get it. And from that point, it's more just like being consistent. Don't change anything. Allow time and experience to mold you into the great athlete, the great runner that you're capable of being, not the pressure that you're going to put on yourself. And for sure, don't compare yourself to anybody else. It doesn't help at all. All the other athletes are on their own separate journey. Your competitors, your peers in every race, you guys are running separate races together. You know, you're in the same race, but you're really competing against yourself every single time.
Definitely.
And so when you can see through that, when you can remember the love, when you can run with joy and compete with joy and just go for it, like, just take the risk. It's okay if certain races don't work out. Go and fail so that you know what that feels like, so that you're like, okay, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I can go be successful now. Because most of us avoid failure, and I say, when you avoid failure, you avoid success, because success lies deep within the heart of failure.
Definitely.
So you got to be willing to go there. You have to be willing to take the risk, and I think that if you make it to that point in your career and you sign the contract, tell yourself you're willing to lose that contract, because that's the only way that you can compete at the highest level. You have to be willing to risk it all.
Yeah. Definitely. And now, kind of linking in with a bit of the pressure once you signed that contract, was there anything that changed? Obviously, personally, piling on pressure on yourself, maybe that's what some people might have done. Maybe like other aspects of your running career, did anything change when you signed that professional contract with Nike?
Yeah, my perspective initially was like, oh my gosh, I gotta beat Bernard Lagat, I gotta beat Alan Webb, I gotta beat Kevin Sullivan and Nick Willis and all these guys, and I'm like, man, these guys are some of the greatest of all time, you know. And I'm telling myself I have to beat these guys, and honestly, not really. I didn't have to. I just
Yeah.
needed to be the best that I could be, and just be grateful for where I was at. But you know, you kind of do have that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm expected to be X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
and that may be true, but focusing on it doesn't, for most people, doesn't help. And for me, that definitely was not a motivation. I just wanted to be the greatest of all time, and so I'm like, I just need to figure this out, and try not to get distracted by all these other amazing runners that I'm lining up against.
Yeah.
You know, it's you'll get psyched out, and I don't think I ever really got super psyched out, but I don't think that I ever lived up to my potential. Like, I think I should have won a lot more races than I did.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I questioned whether or not I was good enough. So I'd always like finish like right behind them. And I never allowed myself to fully believe when I could. There were moments when I did, and I'd let it go, but it was hard to hold on to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would always kind of finish like right next to them and push them to the brink, but I always fell short. And I'm just like, wow, you know, like, why was that the case? And then, you know, I think I didn't focus on myself. I focused on the fact that it was these amazing runners,
So you're
and I'm
kind of
like, I don't know if
comparing
I'm supposed
yourself.
to beat them. A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not to say comparing. You're just you're putting them on a pedestal.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh my God, it's Bernard Lagat, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just another runner. You have to look at it that way if you're at that level. I mean, Bernard's like one of my heroes and a good friend of mine, but I looked at him like that too often, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, just go beat this guy, and
Yeah.
you know, take the risks and make those moves and try to figure it out. Like, he is one of the greatest who's ever done it, and yet he's still beatable, you know. And I just needed to believe that I could do it, because every runner is beatable. It's not
Definitely, yeah.
about any one particular runner. We could, you know, it's possible.
Yeah.
And you just have to remember, you have to see your way to that truth, in order to be the best that you could be, you know. And
Yeah.
eventually I saw that near the end of my career. I saw that, and I had some really amazing moments of brilliance, and won some really amazing races and set some records, and that still stand to this day. But you have to work through that in the beginning, for sure. I think everybody's a little starstruck in the beginning.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. And obviously, everybody wants to be the best, and everyone wants to break records and set records and win the Olympic medals and World Championship medals. But at the same time, are you kind of grateful maybe that didn't happen for you? And if it did, you wouldn't be where you are today with Go Be More, which we'll talk about later on in the episode? Or do you think if you had it been, you know, setting records, being the best of all time, you still would have ended up where you are today? Or are you grateful that didn't happen?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, because for sure I feel like I have unfinished business on the track. I feel like
Yeah.
there's so much left for me to do, but I think we're always going to feel like that no matter
Definitely.
what we achieve.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think ultimately, because it is what it is. Like, I am grateful for the fact that it didn't all work out the way that I hoped it would, because for most people it never does.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think to have that relatability, you know, with what I'm trying to do with Go Be More, which is to inspire people to chase their dreams, but to let them know that very clearly our brand is built to do that. Our brand is being designed to do that, and to inspire others to chase their dreams. But really, we're not saying that we expect you or hope you or want you to make your dreams come true, because you know what that will look like is going to be so different than what you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, when you're pursuing it, as things unfold, it's going to be great. It just might not be what you think it is. So
definitely.
to say we hope that your dreams come true is not really the message we want to convey, because what that will look like is not necessarily going to be what it is that's in your head.
Yeah.
But you're going to chase that thing that's in your head,
Yeah.
and you're going to pursue that. And that's what we want, because ultimately when you start chasing your dreams, you begin to live the life that you dream of.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we want for people. We want people to chase their dreams, because so much good will come from that, and
Definitely.
they'll live that life that they've always imagined, but they'll stop putting it off, because now they're finally chasing the thing that they've always really wanted to be or to do. in life.
Yeah.
And the sooner we can get people to do that at whatever point they are in their lives, we will have accomplished what we're setting out to do with our brand, which is to help improve the world with more hope and more love and more, I think, beauty, because we'll see the greatness and more people being shown to the world.
Yeah, definitely. And no, I was listening to a podcast. It was yesterday morning when I was out on my run, and there was a quote in it, and it was, you're better off being at the bottom of the ladder doing what you love than at the top of the ladder doing what maybe you don't love or what everybody else is doing. So, getting a 9-to-5 job, starting a family, maybe your 9-to-5 job, you don't like it, but it's high paying. You're better off doing something that you love at the bottom of the ladder, maybe not as getting paid as much or being as well off than at the top of the ladder doing something you don't like as much. Would you definitely agree with that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, you're so lucky to know that now. Hold on to that truth, and there's nothing wrong with the 9-to-5 job. There's nothing wrong with any job. There really isn't. I mean, what the real problem is that we're not, as a group of people, as a global society, we're failing each other when we're not helping each other to find a way to spend a little bit of time every day painting if we want to be artists, playing music if we want to make music, not necessarily because we're going to be pop stars or the next, but because maybe you really love to do that, and maybe your dad has a full-time job or a mom has a full-time job, and you have kids, and you stresses over bills, and you get caught up in wanting to just find time to relax, but you choose to get on the internet or Netflix or something else, and you're just missing out on like taking even 2 minutes to do a push-up, right? Or 2 minutes to paint a little bit on a canvas. Just like set up the easel and the blank canvas and your paints, and just go and paint for a couple minutes. Definitely. Like that changes lives, and I think a lot of times most times we don't do that for each other. We don't say, oh my gosh, honey, go do your thing in the garden. I got this, like go, go for a jog, or whatever it is, we need to encourage this in each other. We need to help each other do this because, we have all this stuff to do. We have these 9-to-5s. We have these things that we are doing. Maybe we're running businesses and it's very time consuming. But there's other stuff that we want to do that we're not doing because maybe we don't feel like we have the freedom or the support within our family or amongst our friends or whatever, because we have to do these other things because we have to pay our bills and we have to do this other stuff. We have to find a way to add some balance to that by saying, carving out and encouraging each other to carve out and supporting each other, finding a little bit of time, even if it's just a couple minutes a day, doing something for themselves.
Definitely. Yeah, and especially nowadays with so many big, huge social media platforms, if you like painting or music, you just whip your phone out, take a picture of your painting, or record yourself singing or making music, and there could be one big shot that comes across this, and there in space of 10 minutes your life has changed. You sign a music contract, you join an art business, or I'm not too big into art, so I wouldn't know really what happens there, but just even with running or fitness, you show yourself running on a treadmill, someone calls you up, would you be able to give me tips? And then next thing you know, you're a personal trainer, or you're in with a fitness company, and that's nowadays especially, that's all it takes is one little clip on YouTube, Instagram, whatever platform, and next thing you know, you're a celebrity, or you're a big shot in an industry that you've gone for a 9-to-5 job on minimum wage to this big shot in one industry with a 10-second or a 1-minute clip on any social media. So nowadays people need to really, and that's another reason why I started the podcast. Obviously I enjoy talking about running and all, but you never know, one day someone could, even with you now with Go Be More, and that's such a big opportunity with me, one person comes along, and next of all it opens up this big thing, and it just adds another chapter onto your goals or onto your dreams.
Right. Yeah, no, and I feel very lucky that with Go Be More, um, I have the chance to really fulfill, I think, what my life's purpose is. Like, I'm very clear on this, actually. It is my life's purpose.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to be involved in helping build communities and helping to solve problems,
yeah,
and I feel like with Go Be More, the coolest thing about it is that there isn't anything that we can't touch and improve through inspiration, through motivation, through love,
definitely. Yeah,
and that's really a really special thing about Go Be More is that at the end of the day, like we are in a position to unlock this greatness within every person that comes across this message. We could tell you to go be more creative, to go be more active, to go be more spiritual, to go be more charitable, to
yeah,
go be more wealthy, to go be more loving, um, and and so on and so forth. And it works because we all want to go be more.
exactly. Yeah,
We all want to keep growing. We all keep aspiring to more. Even when you make it to the top, what you got to do is you only have two choices: to fall or fly.
exactly.
And we all want to fly.
That's it.
We want to keep going. We don't want to fall down from the top. We want to fly when we reach the mountaintop. And I think that we have to keep reminding each other that you could still go be more, no matter how far you go,
Yeah,
no matter what you achieve. And that's what I feel where I've fallen short. It was like, well, but yeah, I can still go be more. There's still
yeah,
so much more for me to do than just break a world record. Because
yeah,
even after I
definitely.
do it, what am I going to tell myself? What next?
Break it again.
Right. But that's an example of, well,
Yeah,
I can still
definitely.
go be more.
Exactly.
So that's the point. It's like, and it's not. We don't want to. I want to be clear. It's not about like don't be happy with what you got. It's all about don't become complacent in life.
Yeah,
Keep striving for the next thing that you're supposed to do, the next thing that you haven't learned yet. We all have problems.
definitely.
We should strive to solve those problems that we have, so that the old problems, so that we have new problems. A problem isn't a bad thing. A problem is a situation that's designed to teach you a lesson
Yeah.
in life.
And then the next problem that comes along will be that little bit easier.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And it so you can always go be more because it keeps building on itself for you as long as you don't stop. And when I say don't stop, it's not don't rest, don't enjoy life, don't no, it's about remembering that there's life is full of opportunity as far as like experiences.
yeah,
There's always new people to meet. There's always more love to give. There's always um, more opportunities to just do more good and to learn new things and to discover more about yourself. Like we in and of ourselves are like unfathomable universe that's waiting to be discovered just within our own selves,
yeah,
and the only way to embark upon that exploration and that journey is to keep chasing the passions that come up in you as you chase other passions,
yeah,
right? And that's what Go Be More is all about. Is there's just so much to do in your life. There's no reason to feel like you have to be so down in the dumps that you're unexcited about life.
yeah,
Like you could go be more. And we want to remind you of that every single day for the rest
definitely.
of your life.
No, that's it. And even in your scenario, you can. It's so like good hearing from someone that like you hear things from people, like motivation from people that don't really have never really needed motivation before in their life, but someone that reached a high level in athletics like you, and as you mentioned, coming back from an injury and then becoming a Nike athlete, it's quite refreshing hearing it from someone at your level that you can always go be more, even from someone that like yourself that has reached such a high level in what you loved. And even though yes, you signed a Nike contract, but then you went on and you made an Olympic team and you kept racing and training, and it's so good hearing that from someone who knows what they're talking about. And before we kind of move on to the go more on the maybe entrepreneur side of things, you could say, you made an Olympic team. We spoke about that a little bit, but are there other major competitions that you were a part of, or other highlights in your running career that you think are a reasonable mention?
Yeah, I mean, I won a lot of races in Europe, on the European circuit, which was super cool. Like the
Yeah,
Emsley Car Mile was a really big one. Emsley Car Mile out there in I think it was Manchester,
yeah,
where they held it. I won. I was fourth at the Pan American Games in 2011. Which was super cool, super close to getting a medal there, which is a big deal.
yeah,
I competed in the Commonwealth Games in 2010. Didn't do too great there, but I was struggling quite a bit because I had just been diagnosed. Actually, after the Olympics, in 2008, I was diagnosed with a terminal kidney disease, known as FSGS. So
yeah,
I had been battling that for a while, unbeknownst to me. And when I was diagnosed, that really was a mental issue. It was a really
definitely,
mental
yeah,
struggle for me, dealing with knowing that I had this terminal disease that I had to figure out and navigate. So that's what made 2010 a little bit tough as far as the Commonwealth Games goes. But it was an honor to be in India, honor to compete and represent actually the Cayman Islands. My second half of my career was representing the Cayman Islands internationally. So I ran for them and competed in the CAC Games, and got a bronze medal there. Fourth at the Pan American Games. Competed in the 2010 Commonwealth Games, and and won a lot of other races, or finished really close to winning a lot of races, like the Fifth Avenue Mile in New York. For many years, I was super close, finished top three at one point, but super close to winning that historic,
yeah,
prestigious road mile out there in New York. And a couple times, almost won the USA 1 mile road championships. I was second a couple times in that. But overall, I think the greatest thing that I experienced was just the opportunities,
yeah,
of competing against the best guys in the world, and giving a run for the money.
definitely.
Quite often, enough to where that they remember me, and we have a fond respect and appreciation for each other.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and especially I find with runners, and I've mentioned this in many podcasts, that there's always that one thing that you can, all these amazing achievements and amazing events that you just mentioned that you've took part in, raced, or even won, but there's always just that one little thing in your situation is making the Olympic team but not actually attending the Olympics, and the one little thing always takes a big chunk away from the good things. What I feel personally, even though that might be a little bit of a negative mindset as such, but it's just always that one thing that sticks with you, and on your darkest days, basically, it comes to you, and it's always quite
Mm-hmm.
bittersweet.
Sure. Oh yeah. How do you deal with that at this point in your life, in your career? What's going through your mind when you face challenges, and have to deal with things like that?
Uh, well, just get back training. That's it, really. Obviously, you have to take the time
Right.
to assess where maybe you went wrong and why you didn't do as well as you wanted to or thought you would, and then just you can't be sitting around and complacent it for too long. Otherwise, next time the
Mm.
next year it comes around, just say this year I had my last year I had my cross country championships. Maybe if it didn't go so well, yeah, take a day rest, a day or two rest, thinking about why it didn't go so well. But then what I do is just try to get back out training as much as possible, and then I feel like I'm more motivated then when I get back out training to beat the person that came ahead of me last time. Yeah, that's how. And obviously you have friends and family that you can go to, and they can, and your coach obviously as well, and teammates as a big part of it. That I like to go to them and get advice off them of where I could do better, and then just hit the roads or hit the track again to wait for next year to come around, prepare for next year, and do better than I done the year before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's a good answer. I think that just getting back to work, if you sit and dwell on it, it's really hard to move forward, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
you're actually literally just sitting still. So
exactly.
getting back out there and just getting the work in, you work through it honestly by
Yeah,
being active. So I kind of think that's the best answer. I don't know if you could do much more than
no,
that. You
because
know.
if you're doing the same thing, and also change is really important, because when I said sit down and analyze what you've done leading up to that race, and maybe you're like, okay, maybe I didn't eat the best, or maybe I should have upped the mileage a little bit. If you went back training and you stayed at the same mileage, you stayed doing the same workouts, you stayed eating the same food, next year comes around, it's going to be the exact same thing. So I think change is a big aspect and part of that as well, to develop as an athlete and to compete at a highest level. Because if you think about it, it's just logic, it's just realistic things like that, where if you're studying for, just say, an exam, and you're doing the same thing, you're just reading the book and it's not getting into your head, if you maybe then turn to writing things out and reading things out loud, and then it might get into your head. So if you start changing things up, then you'll 99% of the time improve as an athlete or even a person. So I think change is a big aspect as well.
Yeah, I love listening to you talk about that, because I think that's where I'm at in my life, is I just want to give back to young people and to others, what I've gained and learned from trying so hard to achieve so much in my life in one specific endeavor. And now I'm like, wow, I have so much to give back. And listening to you talk, it's like I just want to be a part of helping, in some way, shape, or form, helping young men like you and young ladies as well, just navigate these moments, because experience is amazing. It's a really wonderful thing. As you get older, you'll understand like all these things that you didn't understand, because you just went through the fire. You just went through the trial and tribulation of trying to get somewhere, and you'll understand more and more, like, oh, that's what this was for. That's what this is for. Whether it's challenges or opportunities or whatever, and you'll appreciate every moment that you had as you get older. So as you go through these moments, it's great that you're thinking the way that you're thinking, and keep it going. I mean, definitely seek out the advice of others, and just listen. Don't try to interpret it any other way other than just, okay, let me hear the words. Let me hear the truth. Let me, receive the feelings and the emotions behind what this person who's gone through it is telling me.
Yeah.
And let it resonate with me. Let the truth bubble up to the surface over time. Because a lot of times in the moment, if we just try to do too much with that powerful information that you're getting from, somebody that's really really experienced and has kind of gone through what you're trying to go through, you'll miss it. You'll miss it. So I feel like that's the greatest advice that I could give you and any young athlete, is just truly ask questions and be ready to listen to what the other person's saying, and don't think when they're talking. Just quiet your mind, open your heart, and embrace what's being shared with you, and allow it to resonate through your being and surface up into whatever you need it to be to keep moving forward in life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I actually, kind of linking in with that, the other day, Thursday, it was, I had a session up with my team up on the track, and we were there, and it was raining, and me and my teammate were there, and my coach there, and he was there in a big jacket and a big umbrella, and we were there in our shorts and t-shirt, and we were like, oh God, lucky for some, isn't it? And he was like, well, he's been through it, he was in our situation one day, he was putting the work in, he was out in the rain, and he has the experience now to come along and share with us, and it's really good to have someone there that's been through what you're going through, and whatever it is. For me personally, it's running and training. So I think it was actually quite a funny moment, but I think from a serious enough point of view, it's really good to have someone there that's been through what you're going through, so whatever he tells you relates to where you're trying to go, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, coming maybe a little bit more away from your running career side things, you want to endeavour in your entrepreneur side of your personality. So, if you once again just want to give us a little bit of a background about Go Be More, why you started it, when you started it, and yeah, just a little bit of a background about the company.
Yeah, I mean, the idea for it came about like around 2007 when I was still running for Nike. And the idea was to come up with something that represented wholeheartedly from a brand or icon standpoint because I give a lot of speeches and speak at a lot of events and schools to inspire others, to live the best life that they possibly can live. And I felt like something was missing as far as like a message, like a message that I could consistently share that would be timeless
Yeah.
and that would resonate with any audience. And the idea of the gingerbread man, the fairy tale, is what inspired Go Be More. That our little the logo, the iconic character is the silhouette of the gingerbread man cookie running.
Yeah.
And I reimagined the fairy tale as an inspirational story, as one where this cookie wanted to be more than what the world said he could be.
Yeah.
He was born into a world that wanted to consume him before he had a chance to be that person. And I feel like that's the same thing for all of us. I feel like we're born into a world, and I don't blame the world for it. I just blame that that's just the way things have turned out. But the world has its plans for us before we've had a chance to even walk or talk or explore our own hearts, And in many ways, we're just like the gingerbread man.
Definitely.
We're born into a world that wants to tell us who we are before we have a chance to be that person or discover that person and then live as that person for the rest of our lives. So as I thought about the fairy tale and I was looking for a brand idea, you know, on the funny side, it was like a little brown runner, and I'm like, I'm a brown runner.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
like, okay, well that kind of works. And
Yeah.
he's chasing something, right? At first in the story, it's like the original story, he's running from all these different characters: the cow, the pig, the farmer. Obviously the fox eats him in the end.
Yeah.
But all those different characters, for me, I'm like, they just represent the common obstacles that we face throughout life.
Yeah.
And the reason why they couldn't catch him was because he was so focused on chasing his dreams that you can't catch a person that's chasing their dreams. You just can't, And I feel like that's what I want to inspire in others is for them to see that they are born into a world that has been telling them were born to be from the moment they were born.
Yeah.
Instead of giving them a chance to discover that, and that when you be more message and you look at the iconic logo of the gingerbread man and you think on the reimagination or the reimagining of that old fairy tale, that very old fairy tale, it's almost impossible for anybody not to relate to that message and to go, wait a minute, yeah, I want to break the mold. I want to be more than just a cookie. I want to be more than what the world says I could be. I want to go be more. I want to chase my dreams, and I want to become what the world is chasing. And that's what our brand's all about, is inspiring that in as many people as we can in every walk of life all over the world for the rest of our lives. Like, our mission as a brand is to inspire that as much as we possibly can. And I feel very grateful for the idea to have come and to have chosen me to be the messenger of it,
Yeah.
And so we're designing apparel. We're working on some big opportunities to do some really amazing things with different groups of athletes and people in all kinds of situations all over the world. And the brand is growing. We officially launched it last March.
Yep.
But I've been dreaming about it and working on it and giving speeches about it since 2007. So it's a 13-year dream. To put it into perspective, has been in the making.
A lot of hard work over 13 years.
But it's funny? It's like, that's the thing. It's like when I was 14, I had the dream of becoming an Olympian. You know how long it took before that happened?
Yeah,
12 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're if I tell people, it's like, man, if things don't work out and you make light of that entire time that it took you to get to the moment where it still didn't work out, but you got so close, you're throwing away 12 years of your life.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that's absolutely silly,
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed trying to figure this thing out. I enjoyed, like, what am I going to do with this idea? It seems like a really good idea for a brand. Where's it going to go? And ultimately you do it, you do what you're doing because you want to figure it out. You do what you're doing because you love it. And I keep coming back to that. I didn't know what Go Be More was going to become. I knew what I wanted it to become.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was willing to die for it. I was willing to die for it. And I'm still willing to die for it. I'm fighting to live out my purpose. And so when you get to the point in your life where you find something that you're willing to fight for to the day you die, I think not only have you found your purpose, but I think really tapped into this source It's going to help you to feel more alive every day for the rest of your life as you work on this thing. And if it works out, it was meant to be. If it doesn't, I guarantee you a lot of good's still going to come from it, you know?
Definitely.
And that's ultimately what I want for other people. And that's why we created Go Be More.
And it just shows persistence and consistency. I know everybody says it, and people are hearing it all the time, but you just said it took 12 years for Go Be More to launch and become an actual brand, and it took 13 years for you to become to sign that contract with Nike since from when you started running. And just shows persistence and consistency is key, and there's a lot of people that don't have that, and that's why it's so important to have that trait, because you never know, there could be one athlete or one, just say, entrepreneur that has been training or has made a product, and their times haven't been going down straight away, and their product hasn't been flying off the shelves straight away, and if in the future, if they had kept that they would have actually become a professional athlete, or they would have become a successful entrepreneur. But just because they didn't have that one trait of persistence and consistency, that it just fell apart, and that dream never came true for them. And I feel like if you don't have that persistency or consistency or that passion, it was never really a dream in the first place. It was just more of a oh yeah, this will get me a lot of money and a lot of fame, so I'm gonna try it. And
what a great point! What a great point! You're a wise young man.
Oh, thanks.
It's true.
No, it is.
Wow,
100%.
I love that you said that. You know, and I want to repeat it just because it's worth repeating. You're pointing out the fact that, like, if you aren't willing to commit, and when things get tough and the going gets tough, you give up. Whatever it is you were working on clearly isn't something that you really wanted in the first place.
100%.
Wow. That's man, that is cool. That's a very powerful thing to know. And you stated it very, very clearly. That woke me up. I'm like, okay, that's truth.
You know, it definitely is. And someone like you saying that, coming from me, just a teenager in Dublin, saying something like that woke you up. Now that's personally, I think that's really cool.
It makes me so happy to hear that this young man in Dublin, you know, aspiring to do great things with his heart, you know, with his life, can see that. And I'm like, that's inspiring to me. Like, I will not forget that probably for the rest of my life. The fact that this young really man said that, you know, I mean, there are these special moments, and I'll think about that for the rest of my life. That's really, really, really profound. And it's actually a great reminder even for me, you know, that the reason why I haven't given up on the things that I've pursued in my life is because I love them, and I really, really want those things. And that's why it's so easy to just put in the work.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
It's just, no, that's really cool. Thanks for that. No, that was coming from someone like you that has, as I know, are a motivational speaker, and then when I say something like that and you say that will stick for you for the rest of your life, it's no, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna be hanging out, right, for the rest of our lives.
Yeah,
so,
no, definitely.
So you will remind me.
No, definitely.
Remind me. Remember when I said that one time?
I will.
I remember. Yeah.
If maybe things aren't going well for maybe you or even me, and then you'd be like, remember that time on the first podcast where you said if you really want it, you will work for it, and then it will once again wake one of us up and be like, oh yeah, I do really want this, and it's just a joy patch in the journey.
Exactly, and we need to remind each other of this quite often, you know, because there are going to be those moments in life where it's like something that you can never even imagine comes out of nowhere, just knocks you on your butt, and you go, I was not expecting that. I mean, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to learn from my challenges and all sort of stuff, and something still comes to get you and knocks you out, and you go, okay, wait a minute, I got to gather my wits about me and figure out what to do next. And it's in those moments when they come up that you want to be reminded. Surround yourself with people that can remind you of these things, and I guarantee you'll overcome it. And we do need great people in our lives. So I say it, we laugh, but I'm serious too. I'm like, hey man, you hold on to me, I'll hold on to you. We'll figure this out. We'll stay connected.
Yeah.
and we'll push each other, to be the best that we can be. That's what it's all about,
Yeah.
is making these connections with one another throughout the world and building this wonderful, like this is like this tapestry, right? Where like
Yeah.
every person is like, we're supposed to connect and weave with our dreams and our love between each other, like this web of or this tapestry of humanity. And the more we can connect and stay connected and connect with each other and connect each other with other people that we know and keep that going, and we really are connecting and we're vibing off this thing called love, man, we can overcome anything. I really believe that this is a special moment in history, of the
Definitely.
world
Yeah.
and in history of humanity. It's almost like we've been hit by a meteor, or an asteroid,
Yeah.
and the world has been and right now the world is disoriented and is full of dust, and we can't see clearly. We can't see the sun. We can't feel the warmth of the sun. We can't, feel we can't put our hands on our dreams anymore. We feel
Yeah.
so disconnected. And yet I think this is the moment when we should realize that we've already been disconnected. We've been disconnected
Yeah.
from the warmth of the sun, from being able to hear the melody of the songs that we love. I feel like we this is our chance to really wake up and create a new norm,
No,
and
definitely.
and I venture to say this is our chance to go be more
That's
than
it.
we've ever been before.
Yeah.
This is our chance to go be more than we've ever been before. And that it's been dawning on me lately. I'm like, challenges, disabilities, limitations, those are blessings.
Yeah.
Those are blessings. When you're struggling with something, that is not a negative. That's a blessing, because that struggle is meant not to stop you. It's meant to help you to understand something you don't know yet that you need to learn. And the only way you're going to learn it is through that struggle, going through that struggle and getting to the other side and being able to have that lesson, that thing that you needed to learn to be more equipped to keep moving forward towards the things that you actually want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
So like
definitely.
when we're stuck right now and we're saying, oh no, COVID's holding us back. Stop being distracted by COVID,
And
because
just
COVID
work.
is what it is.
Yeah.
What we're supposed to do is say, what is COVID trying to tell us right now?
Yeah.
What is this challenge to the entire world? What is it telling us right now? What are we supposed to do? Whatever the answer is to that, that's what COVID is for.
Yeah.
It's not meant to destroy us. It's meant to help us pivot.
Definitely.
Without it, we wouldn't do it. This is our chance. And this is the thing that we needed in order to make that pivot that we've so desperately wanted, even if it was on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
Now, this is our moment. As a humanity, this is our moment. And and what we do with it will determine, honestly, the rest of history.
Possibly, yeah, definitely. And it will. I feel like my generation and the younger generation coming up over the next 10, 20, 30 years, if something like this or something on the same scale ever comes again, we'll be stronger and ready for it. And especially something like this has brought a lot of people together, and it realised how much you take things for granted, like seeing family, going on holidays, training with your team. So next time something like this comes along, we'll be ready, and we'll be stronger for it, and it won't be as much of a shock. So even though a lot of people are saying this is the new norm, if it's not, the next thing that comes around, we'll be ready for it. So even though, yes, there is the negatives of it, there is a lot of positives as well that people can take out of it. And especially on the sports and maybe running side of it, it shows who wants it more. So when over here in Ireland, when you weren't allowed to train in big groups, some people were like, okay, maybe I'll take this time to relax. And obviously it is a good time to take maybe a week or two to sit back and unwind and then get back at it again. But then some people were like using it as an excuse to not train, or not even train, to not do what their passion is. And I feel like this really shows who wants it most and who will come out on top at the end of the day.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And even with Go Be More, like from a business point of view, maybe sales weren't as big over when the pandemic was at its worst, because people were focused on other things. But and even other companies across the world, if sales weren't maybe as big, it just shows that companies that have kept working and kept striving to go be more. It shows who wants to be, who wants it the most.
Exactly. And I think that that's what, hopefully that's maybe the greatest lesson that we get out of this thing is that um, you're going to have to pivot when things go wrong. And sometimes things are going to be brought to your attention that you never really had to think about because the situation just didn't call for it. And most of us, I would say almost all of us, were just like completely unprepared for
Yeah,
this scenario.
yeah,
Like, but this is like so surreal. It's like being in a movie. It's like, no, that's not real. Is that real? No way. And we were so like in disbelief. And
definitely.
now, but as the dust settles, we sit there and we go, okay, well, wait a minute. What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah,
And I think that um, don't give up on whatever it is that you're doing. It's make the adjustments. Make the adjustments.
yeah,
This is an opportunity to create a more bulletproof, well-rounded, sustainable business that can weather these types of moments. The technology is there, and we're now really seeing that.
yeah,
We took it for granted, and now we're
definitely.
really seeing that. So, no, I think we're in a good place overall. I think we're in a good place, and I think we just need more people to see that. We need more people to say that, and all of us need to fight for that. We need to fight for what the reality is, which is we have a chance to do something smart and great and meaningful with the rest of our lives, and honestly, to put a stake in the ground at this moment in history and say we took control of the destiny of humanity
Yeah,
in this moment because this moment actually gave us that opportunity to do so, and we took it. We didn't
yeah,
take it for granted. So I
definitely.
hope that that's what happens, and I'll do everything I
Fingers
can.
crossed.
Yeah, I'll do
That
everything I can to go be more to make sure that I do my part.
no, no, definitely. And personally, this is quite a tough question, but from coming as a professional athlete, before we started the recording, you said at the moment you're just kind of just running just for keeping up fitness and keeping healthy. Is that the story with you fitness wise at the moment?
Say that again. So as far as my training goes, like where am I at with things?
Yeah. So is it just basically to keep fit and keep healthy?
Yeah, yeah. I got a little girl. She's almost 5, and I want to be. I'm 38. I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I miss the level of fitness that I experienced,
Yeah.
man, when I was running sub 4 minutes in the mile and doing all that stuff. I mean, man, that level of fitness to experience that, it is otherworldly. And
For,
and to come down from that in any level, in any way, shape, or form, to
yeah.
not be that fit kind of hurts, man. It's like, oh man, you don't realize how amazing and fit you are until you're not, and it's
Exactly.
like, oh man. So, but no, I've come to really love just jogging and doing light workouts like push-ups and sit-ups and squats and lunges and calf raises and dips and
Yeah.
things like that. I really appreciate just and I'm so consistent with it that my fitness actually goes up pretty naturally, and
Yeah.
I feel great. My body looks great. I'm getting fitter every week, and as I do like this really simple, small, consistent things. It's all about the consistency
Exactly.
and proper technique and patience and having a good approach, a fundamental approach to things. I think it's all about the fundamentals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And when you lay that foundation, I feel like you can kind of venture off and do more extreme things,
Yeah.
but know that you have this foundation that the minimum of whatever it is that you need to be doing, you're comfortable with that and you're confident in what that can yield as far as results. So, yeah, no, I love jogging. I love going slow. I said I've spent enough time trying to run
A hundred
fast.
percent. Yeah.
I heard some good taking it easy, man.
Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
just for in terms of go be more, what are obviously it's probably quite hard to say at the moment with everything that's going on, but for the future, what are the goals, or what's the main aim?
To save the world.
That is fair enough. No, That's probably the best answer you could give for anything.
No, but in all seriousness, it's it's one day at a time, it's one sale at a time, it's one person at a time. It
Yeah,
really is. I mean, we are seeing our sales go up every week. We're seeing people email us, text us, message us, and talk about what the message does for them. Every single time somebody says, "Wow, I've been looking for a company like this," it's so motivating,
yeah.
and yeah, as far as the future goes, I mean, I can't say a lot in detail, but we're coming.
That
We
is
have a lot of amazing things in the works. I've been blessed to have amazing relationships with some of the most influential people in sport, primarily in the Paralympic and Olympic and track and field world, throughout the world. And I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to pitch and inspire some really amazing people, well-connected people throughout the world to support this brand
yeah.
and to help it grow, to achieve our ultimate mission, which is as a for-profit company. Yeah, it'd be great to make a lot of money, but we
That's
already know
it.
what we're going to do with that. What we're going to do with that is turn around and re-inject it into our communities,
Yeah,
into our athletes, and help to build up what has been broken down by misinformation and when it comes to marketing and media and a lot of other brands. To be honest with you,
yeah.
we don't spend enough time celebrating humanity and celebrating effort, and authenticity, and we're gonna change the game.
Yeah,
We're gonna
that is
change the
that is that is really cool to hear. There are some not ambitious goals, but for you, very realistic goals, and I'm looking forward to being a part of them. Hopefully, in the future, and helping out as much as I can here on YouTube and on the podcast. Maybe
game.
repping
Mm.
repping some of it myself, looking good on the podcast and sharing it around.
Yeah, we have some special stuff in the mail for you, buddy.
Thank you, thanks very much. So, guys, make sure to keep tuned in if you want to see me looking fresh in the Go Be More apparel, because it is some very it's just different. Like
Yeah.
a lot of companies are, obviously there is a very financial part of what you're doing as well, but a lot of companies are
Course.
just based on money, 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 and they'll do anything for it. But you and your company are what I assume are primarily based on helping athletes and motivating people to go be more, hence the name.
Absolutely. No, the name says it all.
Yeah,
It's not just a really catchy phrase or moniker. It
that's it.
really is. It really is. I mean, if you, I can get a little mushy gushy. It's another way of looking at it is like my way of saying to the world that I love you.
Yeah, that's it.
Instead of GBM, instead of go be more, it's I love you.
Exactly. Yeah,
And it's a daily reminder that you are loved.
yeah,
And that little gingerbread man cookie, that little sweetheart of a cookie, they didn't want to get eaten. You know, now he gets to do something a little bit different. He gets to inspire us all to become what the world is chasing.
And would it be safe to mention that if anyone's listening or watching this podcast that are maybe training or doing anything and they're not motivated at the moment because of the pandemic and all, to hit you up maybe on Instagram or through email, and you'll be able to help them along. I'll definitely leave your Instagram and Go With More's Instagram and everything in the description. But would it be safe for people to be able to contact you through them to get maybe a bit of advice on motivation to get through maybe a dry patch of whatever they're trying to get through?
For the rest of my life, that is what I'm here to do.
Perfect.
Yes, all
That
the
is great
time.
to hear.
Yeah, all the time. Nah, this is it. And I was even thinking as we were going through this, man, let's get together on some more of these calls. Let's invite all your friends who are out there in Ireland that all your youth. If you get your team on calls, like I'd love to chat with you guys at least once a month,
Yeah,
and just do calls. We can record it and share it, and
definitely.
just chat about anything you guys want that you have questions about. Give you guys a little motivation. Obviously, I know I'll get it back from you guys as well. Being
Definitely.
so young and hungry for life. But I think that what we could do is I'd love to with you. Let's start it with you guys. Let's start a
Yeah,
little youth group where we do like at least a monthly. At this point, a monthly would be for sure. I think realistic for me time wise.
yeah,
But I'd love to do it once a month. We get on a call, as many people as we can get on this call. Young ones out there in Ireland. I want to connect with you, young Irish,
definitely. That sounds
and
like
I
such
want
a
to
good
inspire
idea.
you. And yeah, no, I think it'd be fun.
Yeah,
And the way that you're talking about, just working through things and whatever you guys are questions on and ideas that you have, I'd love to just support it in any way that I can. So I'd love to organize that with you, with not just runners, but any young Irish person that
yeah,
that you want to connect with on a Zoom call or whatever. We can all hop on and see each other and connect and just inspire one another to be the best that we can be. You know.
definitely. So this is, well, first of all, I'll definitely be pitching that to a lot of my friends and teammates because I think that's a great idea. But from a one-to-one point of view, this is not the last you're seeing Jon on the podcast. And Jon, if you really quick want to just talk a bit about the podcast you have yourself.
Yeah, super quick. We have a podcast called the Go Be More Podcast. We interview celebrities, Olympians, legendary coaches, highly successful business owners and entrepreneurs. The whole point of the podcast is to connect with people that have that have achieved a lot in life, but whose story, in the way that we want to tell it, we want to highlight the humanity in them, and show that even though on the surface it looks like they're otherworldly, and in many ways, obviously they are because of what they've achieved, that their path to that is one that we all can travel,
Yeah,
and that they're really no different than we are. It's just a matter of how they saw the world, the choices that they made when they were faced with choices that led to where they've gotten. And so it's a wonderful podcast. It's growing massively and gaining a significant amount of popularity and being featured all over the place. And if you want to be inspired to be the best that you could be, the Go Be More podcast is definitely a good option
and can
to
anyone
check
find
out.
that out on what platforms can that be found on?
Anywhere that you could find a podcast. Yeah,
Perfect. So I
Spotify,
will.
iTunes, all over the place.
I'll leave
Yeah.
that down in the description. Maybe it will gain you an extra 2 or 3 listeners. That will, every listen counts. So, Jon, I just want
Sure.
to thank you for coming on and taking the time out of your very busy day to come on the podcast. It's been one inspirational, two and very educational coming from running and an entrepreneur side of your personality. So yeah, thanks very much for coming on. This is definitely not the last of you on the Little Running Irishman podcast because me and you and Gobi Moore will hopefully connected and linked very heavily in the future.
I see that happening for us, for sure.
Definitely. And as I said, make sure to stay tuned on the podcast because Jon is going to be sending me some of the finest gear around at the moment. So I'll be looking in tip-top shape on the podcast. So yeah, thanks once again, Jon, for coming on the podcast. All your social and all be left down in the description. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you for any reason at all, athletics, entrepreneur, or even just are lacking a bit of motivation, you can do so through the links in the description.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, Killian. I appreciate it.
No, 100%, and as I said, definitely not the last of it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.